Y'all doing? Now, but I wanted to make a quick video about worship and why I think it's so important. I feel like it's a scripture in James where it says you want to live like you want to have wisdom. This is how you get wisdom. You live wisely, get along with others, and live humble. And I feel like the last part is the hardest for people to do. And the last part is kind of how you do everything else, being humble. And I think worship attacks our pride and gets us in a state of humility like nothing else, because like the angels say, they cast their crowns singing holy, holy, holy. And a lot of times worship is a heart posture, and the enemy is after your heart all the time. That's why the wisest man ever, Solomon, what is his thing that he says to guard above all else? He says, guard your heart above all else, because out of this, the issues of life flow. And it's like, the only way we can accurately guard our heart is in worship. And it's so hard for a lot of us to get into worship because we're like this. We're hanging on to, in this hand is our idols, which we don't even know. A lot of people don't think idols is a golden calf or something like that. No, idols can be Netflix. It can be so many different things. It could be people. It could be a job. It could be your kids. It's so subtle how the enemy can creep in, and you don't even notice that you have an idol in your heart. But then you get into worship and it feels like bricks are on your feet, feel like chains are on your hands. You feel like you can't move free. And a lot of people, sometimes that's how people can leave worship experiences and be the same, when that's never supposed to be the case, because God says where there are two or more together, his presence is there. He abides in the praises of his people. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. So there's no way you should leave a worship experience the same. But a lot of times there's a scripture that says, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. There it goes again with the heart posture. So I believe that the only way we can accurately worship right is if we remove any idols that we have on our heart. And that takes humility. That takes us being humble. That takes intentionality, boundaries. So I think it's so much prerequisites. And a lot of times worship, the thing about worship which makes it so good is that worship is an experience. You know, a lot of times we can hear a sermon and things like that, and you get wisdom, you get head knowledge, and you know how to work. But sometimes you need a touch. Sometimes you need God to touch a situation, to touch your heart, to make you have a different perspective on things. Not every time it's like something spoken. So I honestly feel like that if we can get a heart posture of worship, and outside of corporate worship is beautiful. It's a very, very nice thing to be around. But if you only participate in corporate worship and you don't do anything Monday through Saturday, the devil gonna beat you up during the week. Because worship should start as a discipline, and then it'll become a desire. Because it says God will work in you the desire to do what pleases him. But guess what? It says he will work it in you. It said he won't just give it to you, because we got free will. So he will definitely like coerce you to try to do it. But you got to put the boundaries up. You got to cut people off. You got to put Netflix aside. You got to stop watching pornography. You got to stop sleeping with these people. You got to stop. It's so much different things, and everybody has their individual struggles that they will have to put aside. Because when God has the center of your heart, then finally we can worship in spirit and truth, which is what the scripture says, to worship in spirit and truth. And that's when things change. You will leave a worship center, you will leave a worship experience, and you will feel such a freedom. You might leave a worship experience and somebody in your bloodline might be free. You might leave a worship experience and somebody that you were praying for gets healed. You might leave a worship experience and the person that you had anger towards, you might be able to go, a coworker, you might be able to go to work the next day and have a different heart posture towards them. Worship is a radical experience, and it should be experienced like that every single time. And if it's not, it's because God is not at the center of your heart and you have some type of idol. And a lot of times, if we just are aware of how we're feeling during worship, like, dang, something feels heavy. That's the perfect time. In that presence, in that space, God is there. God is always around you, but it's more tangible in worship for a lot of people. So I just encourage everybody to just really take worship seriously and don't allow the enemy to have dominion over you in this area, because he moves in ignorance and in blindness. So if you're spiritually blind to why worship is important, he has an advantage over you because you're ignorant in it. So he can tell you what he wants because you don't know the truth about it. So hopefully this helps you in your walk with like doing worship and things like that.